For a 50-year-old car, this is pretty straight, except for the rust problems in it. Just going to show you a few things that you shouldn't do that the past owner done to this car. I've talked about a few various things, such as the right rear quarter panel being welded on crooked and having holes that were 2 inches big, stuffed full of Bondo. And anyway, I'll show you more here. You can see, I don't know if you can tell much about it, but the way that looks, if it was sanded, it just got lucky and stuck, and it seems to feather edge, but I'm guessing maybe they just scotch-brighted it. But by the way all them little speckles are on there, I figure there was tree sap or dirt or some kind of contamination all over this, and they didn't clean it off, and they just put 2 or 3 light coats of primer on the areas that wasn't problematic, and places where there were chips or scratches like that, they piled a bunch of primer up. And, this is some of the crap they done in the front. You just tried to repair it, packed the holes full of Bondo, and like those places there fell out whenever I shut the hood when I first got it. You see they just sanded it with some 36 grit, put some primer over the top of it, and the rest of it back there wasn't primered or wasn't sanded. There's some more. You know, I have thought about fixing this hood, but my only debate on it is I'm going to have to put in a piece at a time, just weld like maybe 2 or 3 inches at a time all the way across this, because otherwise I would just warp that up bad trying to weld that big of an area all the way across there. And it just take too much body fill all the way across it. I mean, it's going to take a skim coat anyway if I patch it all, but I don't want to warp it all up and then have a 1/4 inch of Bondo on the hood. Now, the fender, they sanded this one down to bare metal and primered it, but it had rust all under the primer, and I've spent probably 4 hours out here DAing this with 80 grit. And all in all, the fender is pretty straight. There was like a dent right down there where the bumper hit it. There's a little dent right there by the side marker light. I think the light catches it a little bit. Now, you can see up here on the top, this is what I haven't spent much time sanding on. That was what they primered over. Just a lot of rust. And rust to a car, I don't know if many of you know, is just like cancer to a human body. If you don't get it all out, it will come back. This area here is one of the reasons why I'm debating on fixing this fender or getting a new one. I could fix this, but I'm going to have to cut it all the way down here and patch that in. And that's not a problem, but I'm just kind of trying to weigh the odds of how much time I spend and money on Bondo and primer and welding wire and grinder disc and everything versus trying to find another fender. Now, here's another good part. All I did was grind out the Bondo they packed in it. It was fiberglass reinforced Bondo, which is stronger than regular Bondo. But they just cut that out of there and packed it full. And I don't know if you can see it down in there, but in the holes it was oozing out the back side. You can't way back here in the back, at the bottom. That's where it's oozing out in between the brace. Now, I understand a lot of people don't have welders and don't have all the tools. You know, I don't have all the tools I need, but I'm lucky and I got quite a bit. But if you got rust on your car, and let's say you don't even have a cutoff wheel. Something I did when I was 17 years old, which was, 35 years ago probably. I had a 66 Mustang that had a little bitty rust hole right above the back fender well. And I didn't have any kind of tools but this electric orbital sander and some 60 grit sandpaper. So I just took a hammer and pecked it down low and then sanded it real good with that 60 grit and packed that fiberglass reinforced Bondo down in that hole and then feather edged it best I could, and then put some regular Bondo over the top of that and then feather edged that and then primered it. And I drove the car, 2 or 3 years and didn't have any problem. Now, I'm not saying that's the right way to do it, and you know, it's not that I'm suggesting that's what people should do, but if you're going to do something like it at home and you don't have all the right tools, the best thing to do is buy the fiberglass reinforced Bondo. Some people call it kitty hair. That's got the short strain fiberglass, and the one's called tiger hair has long strain fiberglass. Long strain fiberglass is even stronger than the short strain fiberglass, but it's a little harder to spread around because the strands are longer. They pull and it just makes a big mess. You know, so you know, I like working with the short strand better. It's a lot easier to work with. But you know, like I said, I don't suggest doing that. But if you're the kind of person that you're doing yourselfer like I was when I was young, and you don't have the tools, don't put regular Bondo on something like this because it will not last any time at all. It'll just fall out. And when you do something like this, make sure after you do the body work on the back side here, get some seam sealer or something and spread all around any edges where the Bondo meets the metal, and then make sure you get you some primer, spray over the back of that to cover it up, because what will happen is water will get through there and soak in behind the edges of the Bondo and the metal, and after a while it'll start rusting in and make it turn loose. Now again, like I said, that fiberglass Bondo, it's stronger, it'll stay in there longer, but over time it will come out. So I just thought I'd give a tip if anybody's going to do anything like that. See if I can get another side shot here, see if my camera will reflect right. But, you know, for this car being almost 51 years old and the original paint on it, you know, I had one paint job that was red, and then this guy that got it for me put some primer on it so he could just get rid of it, and took me on a deal. I traded a good 74 that I didn't really like for this rust bucket. I got took, but that happens. Anyway, it's hard to believe this car only had 57,000 miles on it. Had the original ball joints, original muffler, original exhaust. Kind of an amazing deal, but for it to be rusty like it was and have so many few miles on it. But it come from Virginia, so a lot of bad weather out there. Anyway, there's another update for the day. This is probably the last one. I got to run to the store and get a few supplies and then go pick my daughter up from church. You guys have a good night.